Hi there, thank you so much for joining me today. This is another Club 100 video where I talk about 15 products that I have used over 100 times. Usually if I've used something that many times, it's because I really like it and it's something that I grab for regularly. It's kind of like an empties video, but sometimes it includes products that I'm not going to easily finish, like an eyeshadow palette or something that's not really going to show up in an empties video very often. And if I've used something 100 times, I probably have a really good feel of how it works for me, so I thought I would share my thoughts with you. I think I'm going to start with some fun stuff, and for me, fun stuff means eyeshadow palettes. I have 3 here that I have recently hit the 100 use mark since my last video. The first one is the ABH Sultry palette. I've hit 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pans out of 14 on this palette. I have chosen quite a few shades from here in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project last year, and so I hit pan that way. But really, even if it hadn't have been in that project, I probably would have reached for this 100 times by now, just because it's such a beautiful palette. Yes, some people can argue that some of the shades are very similar, and I would also argue that Cinder and Ember and Teak are basically the same shade, but I love the amount of shimmers in here. These are everyday shades for me. These are shades that I reach for on a regular basis and I think are very flattering on my eyes. I would say some of my favorite shades from this palette are Pearl, Twig. I do really like Dystopian. I'm wearing that on the outer third of my eyes today. I really like Cyborg. That's a very unique shade in my collection. And I've been using Rose Quartz a lot lately and really enjoying that as well. I really wish this wasn't a discontinued eyeshadow palette. I love it, and it's something that I could see myself maybe eventually using up. The next eyeshadow palette is the Queen of Hearts palette from Colored Rain, and even though I've used this pretty much just as many times as Sultry, you can see I don't have as many pans in here. I only have pan in one shade, and that's Crown, which is this duochrome. I do have a little baby dip in a Duchess here, an even bigger dip in Ladyship, and I'm trying to hit pan on Noblewoman in my current Pan Those Eyeshadows project. I would say some of my favorite shades from this palette are definitely Royal Highness. I do love Noblewoman a lot, and Princess. The eyeshadows in this palette are bigger than the ones from the Anastasia Beverly Hills formula. They're also way less powdery. So if you're the type of person who only likes to have a couple eyeshadow palettes and you want something that's going to last longer, I would definitely check out the Colored Rain formula over the Anastasia Beverly Hills one. I still love both of them. I love the color stories for each palette. I reach for them for different reasons, but that's just something to keep in mind. The Colored Rain ones take forever to hit pan on, even when you're actively trying to hit pan. The last palette is the Milani Most Loved Mattes palette, and I will be honest, probably the reason why I have used this over 100 times is because I did choose a couple shades in my Pan Those Eyeshadows project last year. I hit pan on Umber the Sun and Catch a Tan from the project, and I also randomly chose French Vanilla right at the tail end of that project. Even so, I do think this is a really nice palette. I like the quality of the mattes. It's a really great builder palette, I guess, would that be the right term? Like, I can take a single shadow or a liquid glitter or something, and I can use this to build the base part of it and kind of do the other parts of the eye and then add that shimmer shade or something on top of it to complete the look. So maybe it'd be more appropriate to call it a base palette. I don't know, do you have any palettes like that in your collection where it helps you start a look, but it's not something that you would make an entire look with? If you are the type of person to do all matte looks, then obviously this would be good for you. I like that there is a warm row, a purpley row, and then a more neutral row. Yeah, I think I paid like $14 for this, and I think it's a great palette. I've got a face mist. This is from Skindinavia. It's the makeup finishing spray, the bridal version. This has replaced the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray for me because I can get a giant 8-ounce bottle for $39 and for 25% off on top of that. So that's a really nice deal for setting spray, especially for how often I use it. I think it works exactly the same as the Urban Decay All Nighter setting spray. They're both made by the same company, so it's probably why. I use this when I do makeup on other people. I use it when I want my makeup to last all day. Some people don't really believe in setting sprays. That's perfectly fine. You just have to figure out what works best for you, and for me, this works really nicely. It's one of my favorites. I have a highlighter here, and even though I feel like I use my highlighters pretty regularly, like I rotate through them, I don't have a lot of highlighters in my collection that I've used over 100 times, even the ones that I've had for years. So I'm trying to change that this year and make sure I'm really, you know, giving attention to certain underutilized highlighters in my collection. And the first one I started with last year was the highlighter from Charlotte Tilbury, the Film Star Bronzing Glow. This is the light to medium one, and I have actually hit pan, and I think it was right around the 100 uses mark that I hit pan on it. So it is something that you get a ton of use out of which is good considering that this is like $68. This is a really nice bronzer. I used it in a tutorial recently where I was showing you my long-lasting foundation routine in collaboration with Jordana Vargas, and I show you what it looks like as I'm applying it, and it's just something that I've had for years. I think I bought this back in 2016, and every time I grab for it, I fall in love with it again. I think it's a really nice product. I don't feel 100% confident about recommending a $68 makeup product to you, especially considering all the bronzers and highlighters on the market today. So I'm not saying you need to get it. I'm not saying you have to go buy it or you're missing out if you don't have it. I'm just saying that I own it and I really appreciate it, and I've used it over 100 times. I have got an eyeliner here. It's from Milani. It's the Supreme Kohl Kajal. They recently had a packaging change, so it used to be in this all gold packaging, and now it's a black pencil with a gold lid. This one's empty. I've gone through probably 2 of these and I'm finishing up this 3rd one right now. I do like how creamy and pigmented it is. If you are the type of person who likes that Kohl Kajal formula, I definitely recommend this. It's like $6 and it lasts a long time. If you can see, I am wearing like a gel liner on my lid. I did start by putting some of the Milani one down, and then to get a little bit more of a flick, I used the Anastasia Beverly Hills liner pot, the waterproof cream in Jet. So I would say I prefer that formula over this, but that doesn't mean that this still isn't something I love. And I do think it is something worth trying if you're looking for a drugstore Kohl Kajal liner. I have a lipstick in here. That is even more rare than a highlighter, I'm telling you. This is from Charlotte Tilbury. It's the Pillow Talk lipstick, and actually I have used this over 150 times, which is so exciting. I love that I'm getting so much use out of my really expensive lipsticks. This is one of my oldest lipsticks in my collection, and I do hope to have this finished by the end of the year, which I think is a pretty reasonable goal. I'm wearing it on my lips today. It's a really nice little bit of a deeper nude for me. I do like the undertone. Sometimes it can look a bit dark and maybe more cool toned on me. So I have to be careful about which lip liners I pair it with. Today I'm wearing it with Sugar Glass from NYX, and I think it brings out a little bit more of like the peachy brown. I do like this formula. I can't guarantee that I would buy this again. I do own 3 Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks and I like all of them, but those 3 alone is $100 worth of lipstick. And maybe if I was better about using lipstick on an everyday basis, it would be worth it more for me, but it's just something I always forget to wear. I've put this lipstick particularly in like 3 different project pans because I have to force myself to remember to wear it. I'm just not the kind of person who can pan lipsticks really fast. So I don't know if I would purchase this again, especially because this shade, I think there is a dupe for it. Flower Beauty has a Petal Pout lipstick that is a really close shade dupe for this. So if I were to use this up and I felt like I was left wanting, I would buy the Flower one over this one. It's tough. I love this lipstick, but I'm just kind of getting to a point where I don't feel like it's worth it as much to me to spend large amounts of money on makeup, especially when there's so many affordable brands out there that have similar products. I have a mascara here. This is the Hourglass Caution Extreme Lash Mascara. I've used up both the full size and a mini size of it last year, so I've definitely used it over 100 times. I do really like the brush. I mean, the packaging is really fancy. It's like heavy and it's gold, it's nice. And I do like the brush. It's more of a bristle brush, so it's gentler on my lashes. And I liked the formula. I think it worked nicely. I don't think it's like the most special mascara out there. I definitely don't think it's worth like the $30 that it is full price, but they do have the travel size available, which is a little bit more affordable. And I do like this mascara. I still like the Lash Princess from Essence, and I think the brushes are actually very similar, so I will continue to use that over this. And I feel like I didn't really talk about it a lot while I was using it. I bought a Lash Stash kit. It was like 5 mini mascaras, and then you got a voucher to buy a full size, and I used my voucher to get this one, and I'm really glad I did. Out of the Tarte Lights Camera Lashes, the Urban Decay Perverted, the Too Faced Better Than Sex, the Milk Kush Mascara, and the Hourglass, this one was definitely my favorite. I have a concealer here. This one is also an empty. It's the Jouer Essential High Coverage Concealer in the shade Creme Cafe. I like the shade range from Jouer. I like it both in their foundations and their concealer. This one has a golden yellow undertone, but it's still light enough to work for me. This has very high coverage. This can err on the side of cakey just a tiny bit if you apply too much, so just go very slow and build up as you want. But I do love the undertone. I liked the level of coverage. I thought this was a really nice concealer that didn't make my under eyes look dry. I like it. I don't have any other formulas that I can compare to this. I thought this was a really nice concealer. And if you are the type of person who has trouble finding foundations and concealers with the right level of depth and the right undertone, I would definitely look at Jouer. They have a really great shade range. The next two are skincare products. This one's kind of more makeup remover than skincare. It's from Pacifica. It's the Coconut Dissolved Cleansing Oil Rehab. It's 5 ounces. It's 100% vegan and cruelty-free. And I think this was like $14. I needed like 5 or 6 pumps in order to do my whole face, and that didn't include eye makeup because I don't like using cleansing oils around my eyes, so I used a micellar water for that part. And at first I didn't like it because it is the type of oil that will leave a little bit of a residue on your skin, so it doesn't perfectly emulsify and rinse clean. But pretty much every time I do remove my makeup with any product, I still use a cleanser afterward to actually clean my skin, so it really doesn't matter. And this actually lasted me a long time. It smelled very lightly of coconut, but it really did a good job at getting rid of all the makeup on my skin, even on really heavy days when I had a ton of different layers on. I think this is a little hidden gem at the drugstore. I think it's a really nice cleansing oil, and it's definitely something that I would buy again. And the last one is the face cream. It's from First Aid Beauty. It is the Ultra Repair Cream. This one is fragrance free, which is fantastic. I know a lot of people are trying to avoid fragrance in their skincare nowadays, and this is a really great place to start. Plus, I think directly from the First Aid Beauty website, you can buy the giant 8-ounce bottle, which is really nice. It's like $30-something. If you can get a percentage off, it's an even better deal. I did calculate the cost per use of a travel size of this, and I found that the cost per use was very low, especially compared to a lot of other creams that I had used in the past. This and the e.l.f. Hello Hydration Cream were kind of around the same price. This has colloidal oatmeal and ceramides in it. It also says it has eucalyptus oil, which, how does that not count as fragrance? This says it's good for eczema, rashes, poison ivy, oak and sumac, insect bites. I just use it as a regular face cream, and sometimes I use it on my hands when they're extra dry. Face cream is something I use every morning and night. It's something that I go through very quickly, so I love being able to get something that's a really good price per use. And I think it's a really nice formula. It's lightweight enough on its own. You can add like oils to it if you want to add a little bit more moisture to it. It's something that mixes well with a lot of different other products, and I just really like this cream. I don't know what else to say. So those are 15 more products that I've used over 100 times. I already have a list started for my next one, so expect another video like this, a part 4, probably in a couple months. What is a product that you love that you've definitely used over 100 times? I'd be really curious to know what kind of skincare and makeup you reach for that often. But in the meantime, that's everything I have. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys!